Hi guys, welcome back to the 429 podcast. I'm 2,
I'm 9.
And I'm 4.
and today is Techcast. So, for those of you who
Woo.
are just joining us,
Yeah.
this is Techcast episode 2, so where we just cover brief summaries of all the major tech news that happened throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
So, without further ado, let's just dive into it.
Tell me.
A continuation from last week, as requested by 9, right?
Yes. Oh, we're starting with this one?
We're starting with the Herman Miller. Herman Miller has announced that it's expanding its Logitech partnership to RGB standing desks, mice, gamepads, and a bunch of other stuff, right? So
they're stepping up their game.
So they're expanding just beyond the $1,500 chair I was complaining about last week. So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
I love it. I think even you said to me, too, that it's pretty gorgeous looking, right? Like it caught your eye, right?
I have to say the standing desk did catch my eye.
It caught your eye, and like let's say, come on, Herman Miller, that's no IKEA stuff, right? Not to bash on IKEA, but you're paying what you're getting.
Quality.
Yeah.
Are you calling out my IKEA desk? I love my IKEA desk. Okay,
Listen, they're good for the price, right? But, I mean, if you want real quality stuff that's going to last you an absolute lifetime, that's super stable, I mean, Herman Miller is just the way to go. You know, and a lot of their stuff has been made for offices or it's like super fancy looking, right? Like most of their stuff I could never really imagine having in my own house, like at my office desk or my gaming setup or whatever. But, I mean, these things, they fit the bill, right? They look like they're made for gamers, but they're going to have the quality that those office utility furnitures have and whatnot, right? So, I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, I'm definitely going to consider kind of maybe investing because, I mean, I've been noticing myself recently with my chair now that I've been working from home more. You know, my back is kind of not as great feeling as I would want it to be, right? Like if my chair was a little bit straighter, had some more support, I'd probably be, you know, feeling a little bit better. So, you know, better quality furniture is definitely, I think, maybe an investment that's well worth it.
You know, there's a reason why they say don't buy gaming chairs, buy high quality office chairs. And Herman Miller has always been the ideal candidate when it came to that rule. You know, there's a reason for it. There's 100% reason for it. You're getting what you're paying for, and on top of that, they're really on point when it comes to warranties and stuff because they stand really behind their product, right?
That's fair.
Oh yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, let's continue with the other news throughout the week.
Oh, we're not spending the whole 30 minutes talking about Herman Miller?
No, we don't have time to talk about Herman Miller, and we have a couple of big news stories actually towards the end of the podcast. Miller? So I'm gonna leave some time for that. Yes, definitely bigger than Herman Miller.
No, we'll see.
Yeah, okay. To confirm the rumors from Techcast last week, the Pixel 4a has actually been launched.
Finally.
So Google has released the Pixel 4a. It's still on pre-order, but Google has officially confirmed that they're going to start deliveries pretty soon. So you can actually go on Google's website, go and see the Pixel 4a, all the pictures and the notches and everything, and it's all set to release.
It's exciting.
And with this announcement also came the announcement that Google is planning on discontinuing the Pixel 4 and preparing themselves for a launch for the Pixel 5 next month. Now, these are, of course, still rumors, but the Google Pixel 4 will be discontinued shortly with the Pixel 5 coming out. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I actually been following this a little bit when it announced back on Monday, I believe. From my consensus that I've been reading online and stuff like that, it seems like people are pretty there's like two groups, right? There's the group who are pretty underwhelmed by the announcement, right? Because they saw it coming. It's been kind of late, like I said in the last week Techcast. So it's kind of like been there too late, been done, you know? Mm-hmm. And they're pretty much just being like, I'm just going to wait for the Pixel 5, you know, because that's going to be the big change, right? And then they have the other cat group who are like pretty much Android fanboys, right? As I guess you can call them, where they're just pretty much happy to have a solid competitor to the Pixel SE.
You mean the iPhone SE?
iPhone SE. So they're kind of like, all right, this is our affordable, like, competitive phone to the iPhone SE. I'm not sure if it's the same value. I mean, it's $50 less, so I guess you can argue maybe the $50 is worth it, but I don't think so. I still think the Pixel SE is a much better value for what you're getting. But it is a pretty nice phone. If it was $300, I think it would have been, for me, the sweet spot. But what do you have to say, for?
You know, I'm not really a huge fan of the Google phone lineup, and that's mostly because, you know, I like my iPhones, and I mean, the biggest problem I have with leaving iPhone is, iMessage has just become such like a core part of my communication that I don't know if I could really give that up, right? Like almost all of my chats with my friends and some coworkers or whatever, or even just like things like FaceTime audio and FaceTime, right? Like as using an iPhone, I take for granted the FaceTime functionality, right? If I call my cousin and I'm like, oh, let me FaceTime, right? I want to see, my cousin's baby, right? Or I want to see something. I can't just FaceTime an Android phone. So, I mean, just having one platform for everybody makes it so much more convenient. So I can't ever really see myself using a Google phone unless they onboard and maybe work with Apple to get some of those features to be cross-platform. But
it's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't think it'll ever happen. So personally, I think it's cool news for people who like that. But for me, it just doesn't really do much.
I mean, it comes down to, again, like the whole argument. Like if you're in the ecosystem, we call it the walled garden, as the Apple community calls it, right?
Yep.
You're not gonna get out of it. Unless there's something monumental, like I'm talking about like revolutionary, then you maybe consider peeking out the garden, as they say. But like you're talking about a huge investment at that point. That means you have to replace pretty much everything at that point. And in certain features like FaceTime, like you said earlier, Apple just does it so much better right now, right? Even now, we're a very monumental feature that I use constantly within the Apple ecosystem, the AirDrop, right?
Oh yeah.
Google just recently announced their version of it. They call it Share, I think, or whatever. And it's just in beta. Like we're talking about years that Apple had this advantage, and they're just implementing them. Like Google is trying seeing the writing on the wall that they have to have a more close, tight integration between their ecosystem, and now they have to play catch up, and that's the problem right now.
It's kind of just like annoying, right? Like I know a couple people that have Android phones, and if I want to send them pictures, now I've got to go on Google Drive, upload a folder, share a link or whatever, or add their email to the documents.
Well, to be fair, there are workarounds. Like Facebook,
there's workarounds. Yeah.
Facebook has been the biggest proponent of all these workarounds with Messenger, with WhatsApp and everything, and even Instagram. So I wouldn't say that you're just tied down, but again, like it's not native to the application, as you guys were saying. Like I have WhatsApp on my iPhone, and you could have WhatsApp on Android, but I also have the advantage of iMessage on my iPhone versus non-iMessage on Android, right?
Yeah, and we're not dissing like Google or Android and all, because they definitely have really strong features compared to Apple.
Yeah.
Like the biggest one I always come to is Google Assistant. Google Assistant is just 100% miles better than Siri.
And to be honest, I think
it.
another feature that Google has the advantage of over any phone company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Google Fi. Google Fi 100% is the best cell phone service out there, right? It doesn't support other major platforms as well as it supports the Pixel phones. So, your biggest proponent of getting a Pixel phone is, do you want to be on literally the best network, which is Google Fi, right?
Also, you got Google Photos, which is a really good service. I mean, it's offered on iPhone, but like it's native. It's more native integrated on their Pixel lineup and everything.
But sticking with this Google talk, right? The next piece of news that came out also was that Google Play Music will shut down starting next month, and it's actually going to disappear completely from Google in December. So this is going to be another one of Google's products that, unfortunately is going to be demised and hit the shelf, as similar with, Hangouts, the Google Lens, and all the other Google products that we've seen throughout the years.
Yeah.
And so it's actually going to be just completely replaced with YouTube Music, right? So YouTube Music is just going to fully replace it starting in December, and then it's just going to be fully gone. So thoughts on this? I don't know. Have you guys ever used music? I personally haven't, but I'm just wondering from you guys.
Do you hear that? It's like 10 people just cried in agony about this news.
I actually did use it a little bit back in the day. Not because I was like paying for it or actively like really like into Google Music, but they did have one cool feature that I don't think was available like readily or wasn't as good on other apps at the time. And that was like their like radio stations and whatnot. Like I could tune into a good radio station.
I think Spotify has that now.
Well, not necessarily like actual radio. I mean like stations, right? So like I pick an artist or a genre and it just shuffles that type of music.
Yeah, I think they have that now.
I think Spotify has that.
Yeah, I think they have that.
Apple Music has that now, and Spotify has that now. But I mean,
So you're saying there's no reason to live?
Correct. Well, back a couple years ago, I found that I liked the music selection they were giving for genres was better. Maybe their algorithm was just a little bit better. But I mean, I haven't touched it in quite a while.
To be fair, I've used Yahoo Music, so I'm a very old ancient animal. But we'll get into that at another point in another podcast. Next story that came out this week was, you guys might be interested in this one, right? Employees at Blizzard, right? So who made World of Warcraft and Overwatch, right?
Yep.
You know, they had a lot of complaints. They were reportedly paid so little that they were actually forced to skip meals, whereas their CEO, who I will not say names, made $40 million that year.
Yep.
So
tell me about that.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting one, right? I don't want to get into the whole politics behind that, but
yep.
These were just some complaints that came out, and it's an interesting one because can you really fault anyone here? Not really, considering Blizzard is located in one of the most expensive zip codes in all the United States, right? So it's kind of hard to see that, but it's an interesting dilemma that this company has faced, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's very interesting, right? So I know that Blizzard, let's say like the staff, for example, has been under-resourced for a long time, right? World of Warcraft game management hasn't been as good as it was in the past. Community interaction hasn't been as good as it was in the past. I know that I've been hearing from some old friends and from like Reddit threads and whatnot that WoW Classic, for example, is having a big problem with game management. People are getting automatically banned. There's not enough actual game masters like managing content and dishing out bans and performing investigations, right? So these are people putting hours and hours into a game and then getting automatically banned because the actual company isn't putting enough resources back into the staff, and they're not staffing enough people to look into these things, right? I mean, at the end of the day, those are problems that are no one else's fault but Blizzard and the owners of Blizzard. So
that's fair.
When you've got like legitimate complaints coming from your community, regardless of the other people who claim they're underpaid and whatnot, I mean, I would definitely think that their claims might be legitimate because, I mean, if they're willing to just completely understaff a game that is kind of like the core of their revenue and income, I mean, I would not put it past them to give heinously low wages to their staff as well. It seems like they just don't want to spend money. So we'll see where this goes.
Let's go to the next one, which is going to be an interesting one for Nine, right? Because I know he has very strong opinions on this one. The 27-inch iMac actually just had a major upgrade. So Nine, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, let's rephrase that. Major with air quotations, I would like to say. No dissing on Apple, but like everyone. This is not even my consensus. This is just pretty much the whole community, right? This is what I pretty much see across the board, and it's like, yeah, but what did you change, right? Like there's definitely upgrades, right? Like you got your standard CPU upgrades. I think the memory stock you get is upgraded now by a little bit more, right? And I apparently have a new technology in the display called nano textures, right? Okay. Which is supposedly supposed to handle lighting better. So like if you're like a very badly lit room, it's supposed to really account for those color-wise and stuff like that. Really impressive technology, right?
Yep.
But it's still the same Mac essentially from like 2012.
Well, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here because we talked more about this in our WWC podcast, which was actually a fun fact, our first podcast, right?
Yeah.
Where basically we emphasize that, it's going to really, I think the major change is going to happen come November where they actually release the Apple Macs that have the Apple chips in it, right?
Yeah.
100%.
So we have to remember, these are still Intel-based Macs, so I didn't expect to see any crazy updates, but it's nice that they still, care about their Intel lineup and are providing these small updates, right?
Yeah, I remember from the point of view of a fan, right? That Apple's been doing relatively well in the last few months, right? We had the launch of the SE, right? We had some major iOS updates for across all of their services, right? They've been like boom, bang after bang after bang, right? And then when this comes out, right? Because it just seems kind of like a misstep. In the grand scheme of things, yes, it shouldn't matter because, as we talk about, Apple Silicon's Macs are coming out, and they're definitely saving all the goodies for that one, right? But like, just within this container of this time frame, it just feels like, why?
But let's get into the next story, right? AMC is trying to embrace the new streaming era. So because we're still in this whole pandemic-like situation, right? Obviously, there's not many people going to movie theaters, and you've even seen major movies go direct to streaming, whether it's through Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
So they're learning to embrace streaming, and their, I guess, idea behind it is to really partner with movie studios and sort of just get like the release to happen either through the major streaming platforms, but AMC gets a cut. I don't know. I don't really understand the business philosophy behind it. I don't understand why a movie studio, for example, would partner up with someone like AMC to do it, where the movie studio can just go direct to the streaming provider like Disney and just release it and cut out like AMC's cut of the deal.
Yep.
So it's going to be an interesting one to see, what are your thoughts on this? I know you had some strong thoughts on this one earlier today.
I feel like a lot of companies missed that original kind of like leap into the like digital space, right? So I mean, we talked about this earlier, for example, right? We talked about how I thought a lot of your movie theaters missed out on the digital space and, kind of allowing for streaming to happen, right? Instead of kind of jumping into there and working with the new stuff, they missed that opportunity. So, I mean, I think anything that's going to kind of expand these companies and might bring more people to it, which might in turn maybe hopefully make things a little bit cheaper if there's more people on the platform, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of for all of the streaming and stuff. So
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be an interesting one to see. Next story that got announced actually yesterday, right? We've all kept up with the whole TikTok news and what's going on there. We'll touch base more on that later. But Instagram has come out with its competitor, like it does with everything, right? Called Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels, basically, it's just TikTok for Instagram. So as a new post feature you can do on Instagram, you can actually embed a 15-second multi-clip video with effects, audio, basically just a TikTok thing on Instagram. Right. So how do you guys feel about this? Instagram has done this in the past with incorporating stories from Snapchat, right?
Yep.
And it's been a big success for Instagram so far. So I'm excited to see where Reels goes. But what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Honestly, it's hard for me to give an opinion on this. I personally not very big on the old social media thing. You know me guys very well. I will post maybe a post once a year saying I'm alive. But I can see why Instagram is doing this. We talked about this a couple of times. TikTok's future, whatever you hate it, you love it, its future is in the clouds right now, right?
Yep.
Any moment it can be pulled or any moment it can be lived by Microsoft or who knows else, right? And even if it does, it can't guarantee success if someone like Microsoft or someone else continue with it. It might ruin the whole formula they have going on. So I honestly I'm not angry at Instagram seeing the opportunity there. They have already the fan base and the infrastructure to do it. So like Forrest said, what's it called? Like Two said earlier, they done it before Snapchat and it's been a success. Now, a lot of people get afraid on them being like, oh, they're just copying Snapchat again. They're just copying TikTok, just like copy Snapchat. Yeah, sure, you're right. But companies copy each other all the time. It just comes down to who's willing to innovate on top of that and keep the momentum going. You can't fret a company for being competitive. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm not really even surprised with this, right? Like you said, Instagram has done this before, and I mean they have a really big following. I think Instagram is probably one of the, if not the largest social media app right now, at least used by the same young people that are using TikTok, right? So them releasing that, especially when like we've been talking about, TikTok's future is a little hazy at the moment. I think that could very well be the platform if TikTok actually does get banned in the States, right? That could be where everybody moves to. So, and I mean the infrastructure for them is already there. I'm sure this was not that big of a change for them to implement, right? And I mean, power to them. I mean, I think that's a really good move to Instagram for doing.
You also got to remember a lot of the TikTok stars or followers, whatever you call them, right? I'm not into it at all, but a lot of them already have an Instagram account or following.
Yep.
So if they do fall, I mean, like it's just a simple conversion. It's like nothing. They don't have to make a new account or anything. It's literally just tell everyone, hey, Instagram.
I do want to make one more point though, which is I think something that will hurt TikTok creators moving to Instagram. A lot of people really, really care about their following ratios on Instagram in general, right? almost on every other app, no one really cares, right? On TikTok, for example, you got more following and you followers. Like no one cares about that. No one looks at that. On Instagram, people actually care. So I mean, if all of your favorite TikTokers now move to Instagram, what are the odds of me following another 300 people on Instagram, right?
Also,
or someone else.
You have added competition now as you migrate also, because now you have the competition of already established Instagram stars or whatever.
Yep.
That you're just mixing in the pot now. So now instead of you competing with, typical TikTok stars and their shenanigans or whatever, the style there, now you have to mix in, figure out what the Instagram style is. Like it's a different vibe altogether,
Yep.
And then you guys know me, I think from a business perspective, right? So it's like TikTok, the way they monetize on their platform is not really ad-based, it's really just straight sponsorships.
Yep.
On Instagram, it's going to be ad-based and sponsorships, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see, will they be able to maintain those sponsors going from the 75 million followers you have on TikTok to the 5 million you have on Instagram, Is it the same real effect? I don't really think so. But
I think
we shall see.
A lot of creators are actually going to have or at least right now is not a good time for them to want to move, right? I don't know if you guys saw, but TikTok released that, it's almost, I think, $1 billion of their creator fund that they're now allocating in the United States, right? So all of those creators that now make content might have a chance at getting an actual big-time payout from the content they make. So, I mean, that's a big incentive now for people to, create content on TikTok that doesn't maybe exist on Instagram.
I mean, it's gonna come down to basically the people who are already really popular. I mean, I don't see them any issues on migrating over.
Yeah.
I mean, you just take the example of Ninja, right?
Yep.
I mean, different type of media, different type of audience, but it's the same principle. It's a following base, right? Sure. And when he migrated to Mixer, he had no problems collecting his fan base to migrate over. And not just literally this week, he's streaming on Twitch for the first time in a year. And he's still getting the numbers. So, if you're popular enough, you're going to make it. It just comes down to those
for the big guys, I think for the big guys, you'll be fine. But like you said, it's going to be for the little guys. It's going to be tough. But I think we're getting a little carried away with this one.
My question, does Instagram still do followings? Do they still show that? I know they took it away, right, for a moment.
They show it, but they don't emphasize. They show it, but they don't emphasize it like how they used to. So if you remember from F8, I think a year or 2 years ago, right, it was that they made they made it less prominent. So,
but it still shows it.
Yeah, it still shows it.
Okay, so then force point it's still valid.
But what they took away though was the likes. So you can only see and others. You don't see the number of likes anymore unless it's your own post. So you personally can see it, but not everyone else.
I don't think that's totally live yet because I can still see all the likes on every post I see. So
you gotta update your Instagram app. You 4 versions behind. Let me see.
Instagram app is updated. I have automatic updates on.
Or if they took away the following count, would you see it potentially move into a more TikTok environment when your earlier point? If they don't show the following at all.
Oh, definitely. I think it would definitely move to that environment, like Four emphasized earlier, because you would have no one's gonna care about the ratios at that point. Everyone's just gonna follow and unfollow whoever the hell they want, right? So it's
well, then that's what be the solution, I guess, if they really want to keep that thing going. And although I know it's
low on time, and we still have a few more news stories to cover. So let's go through them.
Yep.
Next one. Universities are now helping students secure Wi-Fi and computers for virtual classes this fall. So I thought this would be a nice story to add in, right? So you have universities like University of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Is that it? University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. What was the name of the university?
I can't read it. They're blocking me.
You have ad blocker on. University. There it is. University of Wisconsin Parkside, right?
Yep.
And then you have the Milwaukee and the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, right?
Okay.
So they're working on actually getting their own students, computers and Wi-Fi access and stuff like that to do online classes for,
Mm-hmm.
So we know a lot of schools are going towards a hybrid model or a fully blown online model. So these schools are really helping their students to actually get those things up and running, which is really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's just great. That's just good news. I really hope
great news.
More universities, see this and follow suit because, a lot of people don't know this, but internet connection isn't a standard across the country. It's something that a lot of people still struggle just to get access to, and it's becoming more and more a requirement just to even, survive.
Yeah. There's already been talks about turning the internet into a public utility, so we'll see where that actually goes. It'll be interesting talks to have, right? Maybe that's something we could even talk about on our podcast ourselves.
Let us know.
But let's get into the 3 big stories I had lined up for this week. I know we're running short on time, so we'll emphasize as much as we can.
Rapid fire. Let's go.
Microsoft is confirming talks to actually buy the U.S. arm of TikTok.
Nice.
Right?
Yep.
So for TikTok to actually avoid being banned, if they are owned by a U.S. entity or partially by a U.S. entity, they can avoid that ban.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Microsoft is looking to actually buy TikTok. So I thought this was interesting from 2 perspectives. I thought this was interesting from TikTok's perspective to avoid the ban, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I thought this was interesting from Microsoft's perspective because Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple, I would say, are the only real tech companies without a major social media like platform, right?
Yep.
So even that's debatable with Apple because iMessage is kind of its own like little social media hub, right? So it's like it's really interesting to see that Microsoft getting in on the social media game, especially with their acquisition of GitHub, which is sort of, you could basically say GitHub is like a social media for developers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's very interesting to see that perspective.
If you can't make it, buy it. So. I mean, I don't see any problems with this. I mean, this is still in the talks. This is still relatively new, I would say. And, like, even them, they're saying, like, they're still going through the motions. But, I mean, like, honestly, I think, Microsoft has been pretty good in the last few years. They've been really promoting, data privacy and stuff like that and really pushing it through. And, with TikToks and their recent accusations and stuff like that, I think you want a company like Microsoft who's been very the head front of like data security and data privacy and they have the infrastructure to support such a big following and basically keep TikTok growing. Someone who doesn't even appreciate or even like TikTok, I mean, I personally can't even hate this news if it goes through.
I think Microsoft is a really good candidate to run social media companies like that because I mean, I know with Azure and all of the kind of big data solutions they've been working really hard to kind of conform to things like GDPR for their European clients and whatnot. So data security, data privacy is at the forefront of a lot of their operations right now. And I think that they can do a really, really good job of ensuring that an app like TikTok, which is now going to be highly scrutinized by the government, isn't leaking data to external sources. So I think they'll do a good job at that. And it's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft fares in the social media world because I mean, like you said, the only thing kind of close to a social media app that they have right now would be GitHub. And then also, I think the Xbox Live system, right? All of those different gamer tags and your profiles and stuff. So,
but we're forgetting one, which is a major failure. Mixer.
Mixer. True. You're right, actually. Good point.
Which was a major failure. It's exactly what this is. And then, unfortunately, and that was like one they built up from the ground up.
Well,
so I think
you gotta keep in mind, right? I think it's a little bit different, though, right? I mean, Mixer came in as the underdog in this whole, kind of area. Twitch was already so big. You had YouTube Live, which was, had all the following of YouTubers that didn't want to go to Twitch.
True. But TikTok is in the same environment. TikTok's came in when, like, Instagram was big and all that. It had its competitors, and it was still able to succeed and even tower above them in certain aspects.
And it did, but you also got to keep in mind, right? TikTok is very different from other apps out there right now. There's nothing else that was
I'm not saying
TikTok.
It's the same. 100%, but I'm saying in terms of the social aspect of it, they're like, kind of the same. And Microsoft tried to dip their toes on it, natively, and they failed. So maybe they're seeing that maybe instead of just going through the whole hassle, we could just buy one.
Yeah, yep. I'm kind of excited to see their stance on things like, censorship and TOS and bans and even their like how are they going to structure their advertising and marketing and like how are they going to pay their creators. These are all kind of interesting points that I'm kind of excited to see how Microsoft handles them.
Let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. We have 2 more big stories that happened this week.
Hit me.
This one is the ex-Google engineer, Anthony Levandowski, actually got sent to prison for 18 months for actually stealing trade secrets from Google.
So
this brought an interesting precedent, right? Because before, you never really had a precedent of stealing trade secrets and going to prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You had it for insider trading. You had it for other sort of, I guess, white-collar crimes, you can call it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first one where, at least in the technology and engineering industry, you actually had someone go to prison for stealing trade secrets, right?
Do we know what kind of trade secrets it was? Or is it
so Anthony Levandowski, please tell me if I'm pronouncing that right.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Anthony, let's call him Anthony. So Anthony worked for Google's autonomous driving platform service, Waymo, right? and then he got a competing offer from Uber, and he immediately left Uber. He immediately left Waymo to go to Uber and apply the same, trade secrets that he stole from Google to Uber.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what he stole, from what I understand, he stole some confidential documents related to that.
Oh, I see.
And he also stole, just like intel that was specifically designed to be confidential at Google. He took over and implemented it at Uber. Now, I don't know how they actually proved that.
That's what I was gonna say. How do they prove that? Like, I could get the intel, like the tangible stuff, because that's you can't argue that. It says Google's name on it. But like are we talking about like algorithms? Are we talking about like what's it called? Data measure architecture styles? Like these are things that are really hard to prove.
Yeah, see, and the thing is, like Anthony, he's a genius engineer, dude. To work on autonomous vehicles, I've written code for an autonomous vehicle project at one point before, right? It's a hard thing to do, man. Like it takes a certain, like, there's so many aspects you need to consider, right? It requires such insane detail, so it really hurts. But he was actually charged with, I think, 33 counts of stealing, trade secrets and taking them to Uber, which is very unfortunate because he's a very bright guy, very amazing dude. But this is gonna be it's actually a very big case that's gonna go down in the tech industry for what happens with trade secrets.
Yep, and it's I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing either, right? Because at what point is a trade secret versus me actually doing engineering, right? Like, if I'm the one coming up with these things and I'm the one designing algorithms, right? If I design it for one company and then I leave that company, go to another company, and I start innovating for them, right? I mean, it's hard. It's hard.
This is going to be an interesting one that I think we should maybe have a podcast, another episode about this, but like, it's really interesting to see because like, if you're known in the industry for building cloud platforms, for example, right?
Yep.
And like, say you were the guy who built AWS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you left Amazon, went to Google, built GCP. You left Google and then went to Microsoft to build their cloud platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then Google or Amazon sues you for doing that. Like, is that considered trade secret stealing, or is that considered like what is that at that point?
Because like it's almost like you are the asset, right? You're the one that built that. It's So
I'm the trade secret.
So I think this is definitely something we should research more into, and I think it will be an interesting one to do a topic about. So we'll come back to that one.
This will definitely set a precedent, no doubt, and it will also be referenced in future courts.
Definitely.
It's gonna be a weird time, especially for engineers. I would say really bright engineers, right? Who really want to like make a difference, and like who like to jump to really get a challenge of every company, right? Yep. This is gonna be really weird for them because it's gonna come back to this.
And final story we have now, which I'm gonna leave it on a bright spot, right? The astronauts the astronauts from SpaceX have actually returned on re-entry. Right, so they spent 90 days in space on the International Space Station,
buddies.
SpaceX was able to actually bring them back, and they landed completely in the Gulf of Mexico. And it was an amazing feat for not only, engineering, it's an amazing engineering feat. Of course, we did this back in the 60s with the Apollo missions and everything. But this was really nice to see because this is the first time you had a private space industry agency actually do it, right? This is the first time. This is not government sponsored. Of course, there's grants and stuff that SpaceX has gotten, right? But this is the first time you had private engineers launch a private spaceship to a public enterprise in space and bring it back.
Yeah.
And so this is really nice to see. It's really nice to see. What's interesting also is they're coming back to a completely different planet, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Like, before they left, the pandemic wasn't even like a thing, and now it's like they're in quarantine right now to just, I don't know if it's to protect them or to protect us, but it's an interesting one.
Like, should we go back? I
think one of them actually asked that question.
You gotta make sure they didn't bring space COVID.
Space COVID, right? Yeah. So
one of them coughs. We gotta send you back. I'm sorry, guys. It's too much risk. And it's been like 45 years since we did this method of return. Is that really true?
Yeah. No, it's been So this is the first time in a while that, because you have to remember, we haven't really done crazy space things since
the 60s.
60s, really. Like, if you want, like, we've had people go up to the International Space Station and come back, right? I think it's been 45 years since they landed in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Right, because they have landed in, obviously, but they have landed in other parts of water, I would say, like the Atlantic and like the North Atlantic. like the North Atlantic and the Pacific and stuff like that. But that was mostly with, Russia, India, China doing this. And 90% of our space missions, to be honest, have been satellites. They haven't really been manned missions, right? So this is the first manned mission. But yeah, that's all I really have for TechCast. You guys want to add anything else before we hop off?
Who's getting the Herman Miller chair? Because I think everyone is getting one. And if you need the credit card number for 2, just text me. I have it. Social Security, all good. But honestly, it's been really good. A lot of things have happened the last week. Really glad to hear about that space landing and all that. Really interesting stuff. I think a lot of also the news, despite we had some recounts of all past news from last week, but also a lot of things that are also going to probably we have to recap next week, especially with TikTok and the Anthony case. These are it's never a quiet week for tech. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Never a quiet week. Never. And so guys, this has been TechCast. Thank you guys so much for listening. We can't wait to see you guys this Sunday with a new episode of our normal podcast. And we can't see you guys next week for TechCast episode 3. This time it's going to be led by 4. So let's see what news articles come out next week.
Pray for us.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks a lot,
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
See you soon.